Hey Harmonizers, you might notice there's another little friendly face beside Ginny there, and that's because I ended up buying a second horse just off of a Facebook video. So I'm going to show you guys the video and kind of tell you what I thought about him, and then I'll show you how he's doing. So this is a coming 4-year-old little gelding. So he was 3 years old last year when this video was taken, and he had about 60 days of training on him, is what she said. And he is a registered paint horse. He's a Grula Pinto, which is a really cool color, and he's got some nice bloodlines in him. And what I liked about this video as a green horse being started is he seems to be fairly consistent in his rhythm. So even in his canter, it seems like he's moving freely, which is what I like to see. I don't like a horse that looks really tense or tight, so he just looks like he's pretty happy to go along, and they show enough of a canter in both directions to see that he looks comfortable under saddle. He's not looking like he's tucking and running or anything like that. They don't show the transitions, but that's not really a big deal for me as long as he moves out okay. So I thought, you know what, we'll take a chance on him. Let's get him. And so here he is. So he had his 60 days of training, and then he basically didn't do anything all winter the rest of the year, which is great because he's only turning 4 this spring. So we don't really want a horse at that age that's done a whole lot of training. And so this is me just kind of getting on him the first time at our farm. And it happened to be a really windy day. It was really loud. It was really spooky. Even some of our horses that are more seasoned and more trained were being kind of spooky and silly. So we decided to only stay in the first half of the arena. You can see he's kind of looking down at the far end like, what is this crazy windstorm that you're riding me in? And it's a new place. He had a session before this on a different day of just groundwork in the arena, but this is our first time actually riding in the arena. And it's spooky. So the person who's filming me, Franny, she's holding her horse Nova, who is a super steady Eddie, really quiet horse. So that horse that's in the arena helps to give a little bit of comfort to the whole situation for the new horse. I always think when we're first starting relationships with horses and starting their training, like why fight? Why make things harder than they have to be? And saying like, okay, you have to be able to ride in the arena all by yourself, especially on a windy day. Like, why not just let another horse be in the arena to just have that confidence? And then that way it lets the horse go around a little smoother. So here you can see he's walking around, and I'm just looking for him to get smoother with that walk transition. He's still kind of looking at the far end of the arena, not really sure at what's going on. And as we practice walking around, things get quieter and quieter. You can see I've got my corgis out running around. They're having a good time. And he did really well with the dogs coming in and out of the arena too, which was really nice. And he's getting smoother and smoother. You can see as he's starting to walk around more times, you can see his walk's getting more relaxed. Just the way that his legs are moving, it's a little bit more even and consistent. And his head carriage has gotten a little bit lower. It's a little bit more straight out from the wither, whereas before it was a little bit higher. Like there, as we turned around, his head came a little higher again because he was a little bit like, oh, the big scary door is behind me. And then now as we get on this side of the arena, you can see his head goes even lower as he gets more relaxed. So those are all the signs that you want to be looking for when you're riding a horse, to just get a feel for how they're feeling. And before we try any trot work or anything like that, we want to make sure the horse is able to give their body. So when I ask him to bend and move his hip around, I'm also paying attention to the fact that he's crossing his back legs underneath himself. And that is something that I want to see. It means that he is able to give in his body a little bit. Now going the other way as well, I want to see him cross his back legs underneath. So this side a little bit more sticky, but eventually he gets it and he figures out to cross that back leg a little bit, but a little bit harder for him going in this direction to the right. And that's something that we'll work more on. And we did some other things. And then when it came to the first trot, I wanted to have somebody lead me because he just felt a little bit tight and a little bit scooty. So this is Sarah who's leading me. And it was just kind of a spooky day in general. So I just thought if we do a couple steps with Sarah, then it will go, just be set us up for success kind of thing. And so here we decided to switch to more of a lunging circle, and we do a few little steps. and they're just a little bit kind of tight. And so I don't know this horse yet. I don't know how he's going to react. Like here, you can see he got really tight and started to scoot a little bit, but I was able to pull him up and kind of slow him down. And I could feel that tightness in him, which is why I wanted to be on a rope with a person on ground support just in case. Some horses, when they get tight like that, it can turn into a bucking spree if you're not careful, just because if they're feeling tight and overwhelmed, remember he hasn't been ridden since last summer. And so that's like 6 months ago now. So it's a lot for him to remember and process. And so we wanted to just build him up a little bit slowly. And the main thing is just like little bits that are successful. And you can see he's quite scooty. And when I say scooty, like he almost kind of tucks his bum underneath him. Like you almost see his back legs kind of bend a little bit more and kind of reach under him a little bit more. Very, very quick, choppy steps. And that just means that he's tight, he's tense, he's nervous, he's anxious. And as he starts to relax, like here, see how now his back legs are stretching out behind him a little bit more. They're not staying tucked under his body, and the rhythm's getting more flowy. It's like more of a 1, 2, 1, 2. It's more consistent. Like his back legs are matching his front legs now, and you can see how far out he's reaching behind himself with those back legs, meaning he's allowing his back legs to stretch and they go behind his tail kind of area. He's still stopping quite tight there, as you can see. And as we worked on this a little bit, it got smoother and smoother. And one of the key things that I want you to think about and remember is we didn't want to overwhelm him. And so one of the ways that we did that is we stayed in an area that was more comfortable for him. So he was most comfortable at this end of the arena and kind of near the gate. So again, why make things harder than they need to be? Let's just work him close to the gate between the other horse. Like there, he was slowing down because he wanted to be closer to Nova, who is the person who's filming is holding Nova, which is why I apologize. The camera footage is a little bit shaky. She's holding a horse at the same time as well. And so he's wanting to drift a little bit to her. And then he's like, okay, but the gate is over here as well. And what this is doing is helping him to feel more safe and secure. And so instead of overwhelming him and trying to work on our trot and work on more space in the arena, we're saying, okay, let's work in the space of the arena where you feel more comfortable. And then as we start to go around and we hold that trot, you could see his head was starting to lower and be more in line with his wither area. And those back legs were starting to stretch out a little bit more. This shaking here, the licking and chewing, this is all him releasing some of that tension. So I want to make sure I give him time to do that. And then as we go around, we start to progress a little bit more. So he gets lots of walk breaks in between that I don't show you all of those because that would make for a very long video. But you can see how he, he'll break to that walk sometimes. And I just kind of politely nudge him to keep trotting. And here we're going to finally trot past Nova, which is the horse that Franny's holding there as we're going around. And we trot past the gate and then we'll come to a little stop here. And then I'll ask him to walk forward and try to find some relaxation and movement. And that just builds up more and more as he gets more comfortable. You don't want to just keep going the whole time. It's not just go, 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 go. There's all these little relaxation pieces and breaks along the way, and then earning those cookies as well. And so this was my first time doing a lap of trot now on the other side of Nova. And this was kind of funny here as we're going around. He kind of stops and he slows down and he's like, what's that horse in the middle doing? Like, what's Nova doing? And Nova's thinking about rolling. And later in a second, she actually is going to lay down and roll while we're working around in the arena. She's clearly not bothered by the wind snowstorm that's going on. And when he does slow down to walk here because he's nervous, I don't get after him. I don't kick him because why would I want to make a horse more nervous when they're slowing down? They're like, oh, I don't know, like I should slow down. I don't want the horse to learn that when they're scared, they should speed up. So if anything, I'm just like, okay, like no big deal. And then I'll just politely re-ask the horse to start trotting again. So this is where Nova actually does lay down. So he slows down to walk. He's like, what's that horse doing in the middle? And she actually does lay down and go for a little roll. She's like totally not worried about the windstorm that's going on. She's like, yeah, I'm relaxed and just waiting to do whatever. And he was pretty cute about that. So as we worked on building up his confidence. Everything got a lot smoother. We were able to trot around both directions. And it started with him, being hesitant as he was going towards the far end of the arena. Like here, he kind of slows down and stops. And I just kind of nudge him and I'm like, you can do it. You can do it, in a supportive kind of way. There's Nova being a goofball with the camera. And you can see he picks up that trot again and he comes around and you can see how his back legs now are stretching out behind his tail. He's moving under himself nicely. He's a super cute mover. I really like him. I think he's got a great personality. I think he's got a nice kind of naturally quiet temperament. I think as long as we're not rough with him and don't rush him, I think he's going to be really lovely. And with him just turning 4 this spring, we're really not in a hurry. We put a few rides on him and then we're going to let him kind of just sit in the field and grow a little bit more until he hits 4. And then we'll do a little bit more rides on him and hopefully be able to integrate him into the lesson program as well. She said he was 16 hands. We're going to have to measure him to double check his size. But overall, that was our first ride on him. And so far, I am pretty impressed. Let me know what you think.